What is up, guys? It's the Secret Stash Bros here again. If this is your first time on our channel, I'm Andy.
I'm Dan.
And we create secret puzzle furniture on a weekly basis. So if you're new here, consider subscribing.
In this video, we're going to make an antique wall mirror. Andy's not quite sure of the design, and so...
Well, that's usually how it is. I never know what he's going to do. He always throws something different at me.
yeah, and I'm not done. I got another twist for him later.
I think that's just going to be what this channel is. I do all the heavy lifting, and this guy screws me up all the time.
No.
So let's get into the build. The mirror that we're using for this build came from a bathroom we remodeled in our grandparents' house. Before we could use it in our project, we had to cut it to size with our glass cutter. Whenever you're cutting glass, try and get your scoring line as deep as possible, because if you don't, you'll end up with what we have here, which are some jagged pieces that didn't come off with the rest of the piece. Okay, so we got our mirror chunk cut out. That was actually faster and simpler than I thought it was going to be. There was some pieces that chipped out there, but we're gonna hide that in our project with probably some trim or something like that. Dad apparently has to go into his secret stash for something. I don't know what it is, but even secret compartment guys have secrets that they keep from their other secret stash bros.
Hey! You cannot come up here. You cannot see what's up here.
Well, he's my dad. I think we know that I'm totally gonna follow him up here. It's kind of difficult. It's dark. Okay, so this place really isn't a secret. This is just a place where we got a bunch of old wood we have lying around.
When can you find a piece of white oak that wide?
What the heck? Let me see that.
Came off a barn that was probably a 100-year-old barn, and some of the wood is even wider than this I had.
Coming down, fun fact about this loft. Me and my sister weren't allowed to come up here when we were younger. Because, guess what? He's got that lovely sign on it. You got it? No. I'm sorry. What the heck, man? You said... Oh, look at this! You cracked this lovely piece! You dropped it. You ding-dong.
Nice catch.
It's a miracle I've lived this long in life. So, once again, Dad has surprised me by pulling all this wood out of I don't know where. This stuff is really old. I mean, what even type of wood is this?
It came out of the southern part of the state. It used to sit on an old barn. Back in the day, they used to cover barns with white oak. White oak is not really common where we live that much. Some of the wood, I counted the rings on the end board on the end on some of them, and it was over 100 to 200 years old.
Wait, so you had the time to sit there and count 200 rings?
Yep.
What kind of time this guy's got in his hands? He watches the grass growing channel.
So I don't.
And the paint drying channel.
He watches the glue drying channel.
Touche.
Yes.
As you can tell from the previous clips, the wood that we're using is really old. So before we could even start building anything with it, we had to take some of our pieces over to the joiner and square them all up. Some of these pieces were so old, in fact, that we had to take some glue and stick it in the cracks so that it wouldn't come apart when we were trying to build our mirror. Now, because this wood came off of an old barn, there was a couple of things that we had to figure out before we could actually start building. Like, did we actually have enough wood to complete our project? A lot of these pieces were just bowed funny in different angles and different widths, as you can see here. But we just had to take our time and make sure that we were making the right cuts on the right pieces so that we had enough wood to finish the project. If you couldn't tell from that sad little drawing that Dad made earlier, the design of our mirror is really simple. The mirror is going to be up top, and the coat rack is going to be on the bottom. The coat rack is going to be where the secret compartment is, and we'll show you how we lock that in a couple minutes. But here in these clips, Dad's just marking out the notches for our end board so that the edges will have a nice smooth transition. Oh, what the crap? Are you kidding me? Yeah. You're like, hey, don't leave too much of a pencil line. And then it's like, hey, you left too much. This is why.
Hashtag life with dad. I always do what he says, but it never turns out right. Always.
After I finished cutting out the notches on our end pieces, we rounded off the corners over on the rotary sander. Then we took all of our pieces over to the table saw so that we could put some dados along the sides for our mirror to sit in. Our only problem though was that one of the jagged pieces that was sticking out of the mirror wouldn't let our end pieces fit together flushly. So Dad just took the Dremel and carved out a nice inlay for this spot so that the mirror would look straight when it was sitting in the frame. Now that the frame for holding our mirror was done, we had to start working on the secret compartment box / coat hanger. This part was really easy, as all we had to do was get all 4 sides of our box cut and screwed together. The only piece we didn't screw in just yet is the door that's going to access our cubby hole. Once that was complete, we glued our 2 pieces that were going to act as our top or headboard of our mirror together and let it sit overnight. So while our top piece is drying, we're going to go ahead and put these, what'd you call them?
Shaker pegs.
Shaker pegs in here. So along with making a mirror, we're also making a coat rack. And the coat rack is actually going to be the secret compartment, this box portion right here. We're going to be working on that and getting these things in, and these will actually function as the locks. One small tip for those of you who are considering making your own coat rack. Always stagger your shaker pegs so that when you're trying to hang your coats up, they don't all get smushed together and they have some room to actually stay on the hooks. Seeing as we're somewhat scatterbrained, we decided to leave the coat rack alone and carve some designs in the top of our headboard with a template that Dad had lying around from years ago. After we finished carving out the designs, we took it over to the rotary sander to get all the sharp erises off. We only used it on the headboard though. For the rest of the project, excluding the coat rack, we used the router on all the edges. I would have liked to have gotten some better shots of this scene, but I got stuck holding the vacuum cleaner. Next, we installed our centerpiece inside our secret compartment. This would help support the weight of the coats on the coat rack. And for our hinges, we actually just used 2 screws in the sides. We drilled some pilot holes in the sides of the secret compartment and then stuck some screws in. They actually worked really well. And the moment of truth. Does it fold? No, it does not. Second moment of truth. The third moment of truth. The fourth. The 5th moment of truth. Yes.
Now that we got a door on the front to our secret compartment, it's time to make the locking mechanism, and we're going to use a peg. We're going to attach a lever to it so that we can twist it back and forth. That's going to lock it, and we'll have to make a place for this to catch onto it. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go.
Because our shaker pegs weren't long enough to reach through the entirety of our coat rack, we had to make some extensions with 1-inch dowels that we attached to the back of the shaker pegs to extend it through the board. Then we used some scrap wood to act as our makeshift latches. These were thin, however, so all we did was cut out some notches underneath the latches and then chopped them out on the bandsaw. And actually, the method is pretty much the same for creating the groove for the latch to sit in. It's just a notch cut into a scrap piece of plywood. So in the video here, it probably looked like we whipped up these locks in a matter of seconds, but in reality it took us probably around an hour, hour and a half to get them done. But right now we got those done. We're going to be moving on to putting our mirror on. We're putting it back on this thing and staining it. For installing our shaker pegs, we actually opted to use a small paintbrush to apply the glue. We did this due to the fact that not all of our pegs fit in their holes really tight, so we just wanted to make sure that they all got an even coat of glue so that they stayed in for years to come. Now you can kind of see it in this coming clip, but the piece that we used for our knick-knack shelf was as crooked as a broken finger. To stabilize it, we had to get a straight line of screws going all the way down our headboard. This was not easy though, as the board wanted to twist every which way when we were trying to secure it. To seal our project, we actually used tung oil instead of regular wood sand. At this point, you might be thinking that we're going out of order by attaching our back after we've stained it, but we actually decided not to stain our back, mainly because we felt it. Oh yeah, and the wood that we're using on our back is actually the same wood that we used in our jewelry box build. You can click on the card up in the corner if you want to check it out. Even though this mirror was really fun to create, it was kind of a sad build for us because it was the last of our barn wood. We still have a couple scraps left over, but only enough to make something really small. So it's just kind of a sad thought to know that this will probably be our last big project with this type of wood. In total, guys, this mirror took us it took us 2 days. The only thing we would have done differently is probably taken our time more with the glass and maybe gotten the score line a little bit deeper, just so that you didn't have jagged pieces sticking out. But other than that, it turned out really good. As for our next video, we are going to be building a very, very cool project. Dad doesn't even know about it, so this is my turn to surprise him.
Oh no.
Yes. Alright, so Dad's tired. He didn't want to do the rest of this outro with me. So if you like the video, guys, make sure to smash that like button. And if you want us to keep doing this, you want more videos, different videos, how can we make these videos different, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Leave it down in the comment section and make sure to subscribe so we can keep doing this for you guys if you like us doing it. I'm tired, Dad's tired. We're going home. We'll see you next time. It's going to be cool.